move that we open the meeting.
I second the motion.
All rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're gonna have to,
Do we have the motion to go into executive session?
Yes. It's there. I move that the board enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, and Section 7 to comply with Mass General Law, Chapter 214, Section 1B, and Mass General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 26, subsection C, regarding a request for financial assistance to a resident where discussing the matter in open session would violate personal privacy rights, and to return to public session at the conclusion of the executive session.
I second the motion.
Roll call,
Brett Simus, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Okay.
You could, if you'd like to, the answering one while we're waiting.
The library trustees while we're
Yeah.
waiting. Okay, Matthew, would you like to go?
Sure.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for putting these on the agenda.
No, well, they're not here.
Got it, Sue.
Matthew was here.
Come on, I need.
Listen.
Some of us don't know what day of the week or what time it is, and some of us do, and Matthew does, so here we are.
So would you like me to present these briefly, or do you want to start and just ask questions? How do you want to do this?
I think you can just present. I think these are typically yearly expenditures or.
One of them is yearly and the other two are a little different. So
We'd love to hear.
all right, so we have some requests tonight for the select board to approve a trust fund expenditure and 2 gifts, cash gifts that were made to the library. I think the first one on the list is the Laura Dearth Trust Fund. So this is a long-standing trust fund someone set up in honor of Laura Dearth. And we basically spend the interest every month to buy materials or every year, sorry, to buy materials for the library. And because it's a trust fund, we just need to come in front of the board and ask your authorization to expend some of it. This year, we are requesting up to $600, which is a little bit less than the amount of interest. What we try to do is whatever the interest that was earned from the trust fund, that's what we spend the next year.
Questions, comments?
Nope, I'm
Thank
good.
You want to take them one by one? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the expenditure of $600 from the Laura Dearth Library Trust Fund.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right, thank you for that. All right, the next one was a surprising unsolicited gift. A check just showed up in my mailbox. It was from a bank. Actually, I think it's one of these sort of managed donor funds. So someone obviously put us as a beneficiary and the check was sent. It does have a name of the fund. There was no accompanying cover letter or anything. And the message from the bank did say, please don't issue a tax receipt or send any gifts to the donor. So I don't know how much acknowledgement they might want. Obviously, their name is on there. I think I know who the person is. They are a library patron and a local author. So if that's the person I'm thinking of and they happen to see this at some point, thank you very much. We appreciate your donations. So it's $500 was the amount of the donation. And our intention is to put it in the Library Good Fortune Fund and use it to fund some of our children's programs this summer.
Awesome.
I think that's great. Any
Good.
other questions, comments?
No, that's
Nope.
awesome.
I make a motion that we accept the $500 gift from the Cogan Duncan Fund.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. That was a very generous gift, and whoever
Yes.
made it, we truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. And the final request is from the Friend of the Library, which is our nonprofit support organization. Usually the Friends of the Library support the library by directly paying for programs or paying for performers. This year, they want to do something a little bit different and make a essentially a cash donation to the library to purchase materials for a specific program. My children's librarian put together this idea for a sensory playtime, which is a bunch of equipment that she can set up an ongoing event that children come and they have toys and curated materials that help them with all their senses, and it's good for infant development and that sort of thing. So the easiest way to make this work was that the library use our vendors to make the purchases, and the friends give us the cash that we'll put into the fund. So that's why we're bringing it to you, because obviously any cash gifts have to be approved by the board. So this is a $2,000 donation from the Friends of the Library. Again, we would put it into the library good fortune fund and then expend it to buy the equipment for the sensory playtimes.
Questions or comments?
No, excellent.
I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely wonderful.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board accept a $2,000 gift from the Friends of the Upton Library Trust Incorporated.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right,
Congratulations.
thank you very much.
If nobody's here from the men's club, I am familiar with both of these things, so I feel like I could represent them. One of them is pretty standard and then one of them is a little different, but I can explain what's going on the best I can. At least we can try to cover it.
That works
If
because
it works, great. If you guys still have questions or if I can't answer anything,
no,
then
there's something in the air today. That's
there's
all.
something in the air, right? We have this off-cycle meeting and it throws everyone off. We were in a like weekly rhythm and
Yeah,
then
we were. and,
broke it.
Okay.
So what's going on here? So the $5,000 from the beautification fund is standard. That's the annual, like they do the planters, they do mulch in the various spots
Mhm.
around town. We're all very familiar with that. So that's the standard $5,000 ask for this. And this is always up to $5,000. So it sort of gives them permission to order the mulch and do the edging and get all the materials they need and what have you. The $12,295, this is, so what happened, and you may have noticed this, one of the signs came off that is like, and it had adhesive on it and some screws, and it came off, so that led to an inspection of all the signs, and they're all about 25 years, 22 or 20, 20 plus years old, and they're thinking of replacing them with like some sort of a granite or stone sign that will last sort of in perpetuity, and so that it doesn't sort of fall apart or come unglued. So my guess is that whoever was going to come here would actually have the design and sort of be able to show like, oh, this is what we're thinking. It'll be very similar to what was there, that sort of oval shape with the stone, and this money would be to replace all of those signs around town to avoid them breaking and falling apart like the one. And they looked at trying to repair it, and it's just like, it's almost like a veneer that sort of like is warped, and it just is past its prime. Yeah. So
So I know they donated the signs to the town 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Would this 12,500, is the men's club putting some money in? Because it seems low if we're going granite for everything, or do we know?
Don't know.
My understanding in speaking with Steve is that the $12,295 would pay for the signs. I can find out if that's granite, but then the labor. So the installation for $2,975 would come off, and that option to have gold leaf at $5,000 was not discussed at this time.
Okay, so perhaps that's what they're doing, but we're not sure.
That I'm not sure about, but I can tell you the labor definitely men's club
Is being donated. Yeah.
is gonna
Okay.
donate.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
know
typically how they
usually we
do it.
work in conjunction with them, and I just really wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
And I also see that they want permission to take care of the planters around town, and I think that's fabulous, because last year we were down 5 DPW people, flowers weren't being watered, people were upset, but when you're down that many people and you have to pull a truck and
Yeah.
fill a truck and, there's.
Yeah.
My thought at the time was, if it's at the end of your street, just grab a bottle of water and dump it on, you know, put a gallon here and there. There are quite a few men's clubs members, so I was very pleased to see that.
Yeah,
Because it's more when the DPW does it, it's an ordeal,
Yeah.
you know, versus, but whoever did the front looks, you know, town hall looks fabulous.
That was immense.
Yeah.
They did say, because I asked the question when they asked about sort of additional locations, and I'm like, I remembered the watering problem. I'm like, before we add new locations, like, are we covered? And Steve had sent back a note. I sent him sort of a one-off email just to ask him like, hey, is the watering good? Because
Yeah.
we're gonna want to know. And he definitely felt like that was something they're gonna commit to. They're gonna figure it out and get it done. And I'm like, okay, as long as there's a plan for watering the stuff and we're not putting more pressure on our DPW or setting some type of false expectation, like, hey, the board approved this, so that must mean that the DPW is gonna take care of it. It's like, we're not committing the DPW to doing any watering.
No, it's kind of like when we, you know, and Paul has raised this before, when the library, you know, the community center got completely overgrown. And then it was a small fortune to trim that
That's right.
weed and.
Yeah.
We didn't know our weeds from our plants. Yeah. So, all right, do I hear a motion or any more further?
Yeah, I haven't been a part of the men's club in a long time. I do not remember the town funding things the way that the men's club has been funded by the town between fireworks, this sign and everything else. Is that relatively new? Like, what is the men's club using their money for if the town is funding things for them to do? It just doesn't make sense to me based on what I remember from the men's club.
Yeah, you should ask them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know as a Bloomer Girl, if I take the selectman's hat off, they do fund the Bloomer Girls. You know, which is nice.
They do scholarships, they fund the Bloomer Girls, they do a lot of fundraising, like the big fundraiser that they have is the golf tournament in the fall, which raises, you know, like $15,000. So they do a few fundraisers, but paying for the fireworks is sort of the big expense. So they run very lean, like they're not sitting on cash, like they have, you know, like $30,000 or $40,000. That's sort of like their running balance of like money coming in, money going out. So they run a very lean operation. And so this extra money helps them sort of do some of the above and beyond projects that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. They don't have sort of money that they're just sitting on that they could use. Like they don't have $12,000 that they could just spend. That's not how they're funded. They run sort of it's very much sort of a volunteer grassroots type of
My
thing.
thing is, if you ask someone in town, who do you think does the fireworks? They're gonna say the men's club. And the town is funding a good portion of that.
Oh, no, the town's funding a small fraction of that. The fireworks cost about $40,000 to $50,000 to run. We gave them $8,000.
$14,000 last time they were here.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was just surprising to me. That's all I'm saying. Not combative, I'm just saying, like, I don't remember the men's, you never get any money from the
Yeah.
town. They used to raise money and then they would give money away.
Yeah, and all the funding is coming from the trusts that are sort of, it's not taxpayer dollars, it's sort of, these are trust fund accounts that were set up for the benefit of the town. So it's almost like the men's club gives the board a mechanism, sort of a tool to distribute these funds that we otherwise wouldn't be able to spend or use because you need people, right, to coordinate type activities and events to do work. And if it were not for the men's club, we'd have no sort of outlet for these beautification funds because there's not people running around jumping up and down saying, hey, yeah, we want to do some landscaping for the town, right? So it actually benefits us because it gives us the ability to distribute the trust funds.
Right, all I'm saying is that the men's club is funding. They're getting,
That's right.
it's much more than what I ever remember and thought, so that's why.
Yeah.
Well,
So does
yeah.
that help? Does that answer your question? Are you comfortable? Okay.
I think it's worth a question because I do know, you know, the first signs were donated, but
Yeah.
that was 25 years ago and,
That's right.
you know.
No,
Roshan's dad built them.
Right. And, yeah, and,
I'm not.
no, we're not arguing, but you know what, Steve, there's other people with the same questions.
That's right.
So even
We
if
should
it's
ask.
just, somebody comes in and it's a point of clarification that like, look, Jimmy's dad built the signs, they helped, it was inexpensive, and 25 years later, we want to go granite. We want to go with something more permanent. We're gonna gold leaf I can't see that far. You know, your 12 is, you know, for the stone itself, which should be in perpetuity, hopefully. And, you know, we did receive last year, I believe, the Harvey Trust Fund. We have a
Mhm.
$250,000 that we can use at our discretion exactly for beautification and nothing else, which is. But yeah, we should clarify so we know,
It's good for.
because
it's
you're
good
not
for
the only
people to
one, Steve. That's
The
asking.
cost of everything is
Paul?
going up.
It's not a negative, I just wanted to.
No, yeah, it's a question, why?
The men's club does put on the senior suppers once a
Mhm.
month at the community center.
Right.
From, I guess it's 9 or 10 months.
Yeah, from September,
Well-
September to May, they do that.
I know, you know, the Bloomer Girls also run extremely lean, but when we, you know, I think it was 125 people we fed at Thanksgiving and more families at Christmas, you know, we provide assistance and
Yeah.
a good chunk of that came from, because the Bloomer Girls, sometimes all we do is like $1,000 and the men's club usually steps in and, you know, gives us a boost. And
And I think it's,
so
a-
I think we work together, but it's a decent, it's a great question to know.
I think it's important to talk about it as a partnership, right? And for people to recognize that, like, it's not the Bloomer Girls and the men's club and the churches and the select board and these trusts, like they're all in this sort of overlapping Venn diagram of people doing good for the community. So it's a very positive thing, and people should be, you know, feel fortunate that we're in a community where we've got the flexibility and the means to do these kinds of things. Because a lot of towns don't have the option of giving out trust fund money to various organizations, nonprofit or otherwise, right? And we're very fortunate that we've got that.
But you're right, Steve, we should maybe powers that be, because I know you're in the men's club, just say, hey, we'll put them on an agenda item. How does this work? You know, like let's, so the people at home aren't thinking the same
You
thing.
know, all 3 meetings that I've attended, they've been on here, getting money, that's what the back then, so that's the reason. Like, the first time was approval for cornhole or something else.
Well, those are just, yeah,
Licenses.
I can, through the chair, confirm, the request for the, fireworks festival was $8,754.
okay.
It was for the sound company, porta potties, tents, and two-way radios, so not the actual fireworks themselves.
That helps, Steve. You asked the question. We want to make sure you're getting the answer.
More than I ever expected to be.
See, you now know why they say never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Yeah. All right. Are we good? Yeah, we made a motion?
Nope, not yet.
May I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve $5,000 from the Beautification Trust Fund for planters and island gardens located throughout the town, up to $5,000 for the men's club, and $12,295 from the Beautification Trust Fund for replacement of the Welcome to Upton signs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And should we make a motion to allow the men's club to take care of the planters and the motion for that, or?
No, the motion was just for the funding for
Okay.
it, so I did confirm in conjunction with Dennis, you know, what's being taken care of. And given the season, they did already start, and I did give them authorization, so I'll say mea
Okay, good.
culpa if it's on me, but I did
Nope.
not want them to not be able to.
Get
move
planted. It looks
forward.
beautiful.
Like I said, I came in this morning and I was like,
Great.
wow, this looks great. What
Yep.
if they want to come to my house?
So now I know for next year, I'm sure. we
No,
put
that's,
the
no,
right-
I,
We're
this is
gonna put
permission,
planters.
they've asked permission, yeah. So, okay, so that's Mass Club, we've done libraries trustees, town managers report.
Okay, so my updates tonight are largely verbal and largely article related. We are pretty much there with the warrant, which I'm really happy about. It's taken a pretty significant amount of time, along with a couple of personnel matters that I've been dealing with. And there were some questions about the recreation summer programs that we're working through. Had a very productive meeting today. And working with town council, looks like we are hopefully going to be able to move forward. I don't have the details hammered out with that, but I know really there were just concerns around making sure we had all proper documentation on file and we're following all state and CMR regulations. The Board of Health does issue a permit annually for that. And, I had raised the question of, hey, just making sure before we send out offer letters and everything, are we good to go? So it looks like we're getting everything in order there, which is great. And we are full steam ahead for town meeting and the town election, working closely with Denise, who, by the way, is absolutely fabulous to work with. I just had to put a little bit of a plug out there
Nice.
for her.
She is.
And, we're on top of everything. We are going to have an overflow room and a second moderator who, the name is escaping me at the moment, but Dave has, I believe he was, something to do with Shrewsbury at one point.
And I think
You know
he
what I'm
lives
talking about?
up at Upton Ridge or,
in another town.
he was.
Thank you.
Lives up in Pulte's Joe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And he was friends with Dave, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now, can I just say, we have a backup moderator, because we never had one before.
It's good.
But
Yes, we do. I've also had the opportunity, mostly last week, to finally get out and start visiting some town buildings, visited the library. I had previously visited the senior center side, but now I've seen the whole thing. Fire, police station, had the opportunity to do a number of department head meetings. I'm a little in reverse. Those are kind of things I would normally do in the first, 30 to 45 days, but
Came in hot.
it kind of came in hot, exactly. So now we're, trying to get those in as soon as possible, but I cannot speak highly enough for the dedicated volunteers that we have here, the board and committees that I've had the opportunity to meet with, and the department heads are second to none. I'm really just impressed by the expertise and the dedication of everybody I've met with. And you mentioned the trust funds earlier, did have an opportunity to meet with Lynn Haggerty on that as well. And I've never seen those types of trusts in those amounts in any of the 5 communities I've worked in. So that is really impressive. And it's a testament to what you have here, and people really want to support it. So that's really all I had, unless you had any specific questions, just ramping up for town meeting
should be here before we know it.
before we know it.
Okay.
When do we think the Kids at Play offer letters are gonna go out?
So I am going to release the offer letters for the beach, I'm gonna get the wrong word, director, and the lifeguards. So I'm gonna get those out. I was just waiting. There needs to be one modification in those offer letters.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, as soon as we get a little bit more clarification from town council, we've asked them by the end of the week to be able to move forward with that.
Back in a minute.
Okay.
Great.
Okay,
Thank
for
you.
those who don't know. Welcome, Alan Rosenfeld. Are you here on the behalf of the Men's Club?
What do you mean?
We just went over a request from the Men's Club. Are you here?
No, so do we need money? It's Steve, I'm Alan.
Nice to meet you.
No, you just went over it.
Filled in,
Oh,
but
I did my best.
because we just had a question.
okay.
You want to sit down, give Sue your names, because I don't think Sue knows either one of you.
I know, Sue. Yeah. I have
We
to
thought it
vote
was at 7 o'clock, so we apologize.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
good.
We,
We got it covered.
hey,
All right, awesome.
Approved.
you're talking to
Approved
the
in
chickens,
advance.
came cruising in late, hot,
Yeah.
10 minutes late because, I don't know.
You got it. We're here.
We're
Off
here.
cycle.
So it's already been voted on?
Already been
Yes.
voted on.
Okay.
We did have, I mean, I know, we had some questions, so years ago, when the signs were created, I remember Jimmy Brochu's dad helped create them. They've obviously lasted a tremendous amount of time. The signs are now gonna be granite, but you're gonna know what's going on.
No, exact replica.
Do you have one of these?
Whoa.
Yeah, this is the one, because I had brought it in.
So that gives you a couple of options.
Yeah,
Put it in the pack.
yeah, it's the same one. We just printed extra copies to bring.
So maybe
Okay.
walk us through what we were
Yeah,
doing, 'cause I
maybe.
think I was working with old information, so.
No
everybody-
worries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because there was a pretty strong discussion
Yeah.
about doing a granite. But once we really talked about it, discussed it as being a potential option, it was gonna be too expensive. It was gonna be too much involved in making that change, whereas replicating the ones that were there, we felt that was the right solution. they held up all this time. They're really good looking signs. And we just felt, you know what, for like 20% the cost, we can just go back with what's there. And it's the same guy that made the first one. So,
Oh,
Perfect.
all right.
so I know that changes things, but
No,
Great.
no, we weren't sure. And then, there was a question from an audience member that said, it used to be the men's club would just do these things. And now it seems like you're asking for funds and the question was why?
Well, I mean, again, personally, I think it was, that's who the men's club is. That's why it was initially done. Bill McCormick, initially ran with it, and he certainly had a lot of input in this along with Steve currently. But the reality is honestly, my personal feeling, this is really something for the town. It enhances the town. Being a past selectman, you have the beautification fund. You also have the selectmen's fund. Again, this is something that I think the community appreciates. Again, so that's why, I mean, again, we do quite a bit for the town. I just hope and I'm glad that you voted to approve it. To me, that's an acknowledgement of our efforts on behalf of the elderly, on behalf of the fireworks, on behalf of, the Easter, to have the children come over. The club does a lot. This is something, again, I'm not the one that makes the decision, it's a club. But we thought that this is something maybe the community should handle. So I hope I didn't say anything that's going to make a second vote.
No, I think we're good. I think there was a question and we wanted to, know. And I assume like every other charity, you run pretty lean.
we do. And as Alan had said, we do a lot of in-town things, which I'm sure you hear and see. We're trying to help the community as much as possible. And like the beautification fund, for instance, we do all the labor and we do all of the work, but
And I was thrilled to see you wanted help with the watering this year, because that was, we
Yeah.
were down 5 DPW people last year just due to exigent circumstances.
Well, the flowers, right, coming into town.
Like the system's nice. Yeah, they. it's like,
So you,
that was us. Actually, Mike Campbell was the site of what to pick. I was just kind of the labor of the day to go pick it all up, but he pretty much knew what to put in each planter. Well, let's put a little of this here, a little of this here. I'm like, whatever you choose, but
You did it.
they came out nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look
you
great.
are in a profession that obviously recognizes, for example, the flowers and such and how beautiful and the impression it makes on people living in the community, but driving into the community. And honest to God, we had at least one, if not two people communicate with the club, appreciating all the bees and such like that, the pollination and all. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
So we're not Hopkinton and, we're not Westboro. We're better than those two communities.
Oh, cool.
But we are not those communities. But again, I just think that the club, Mike Campbell, this guy over here, I think the effort that they put in and maintained it, and our understanding is DPW, I think, is going to take over that responsibility theoretically. And I hope, I expect, but
Sometime. I do know that they said that they would do some of the waterings. I think Dennis had given me a list of 3 spots. And it's challenging for us to maintain watering as well.
Okay, Dennis is on. Dennis. Have you been listening? Can you?
Good evening.
I heard you. The men's club is of the impression that DPW is going to take over the watering, but I have a letter here that states the men's club would like permission to continue to take care of the planters around town. This includes maintenance and changing for the various seasons. Can you chime in and let us know what your understanding is?
Sure. So when I had a conversation with the men's club last year, and as you stated, we were understaffed last year. We're not, we're up to full staff right now. So we're doing well, except we're getting ready to bring on our seasonal employees. And this year, unfortunately, is going to be one of the years where we bring in all new children to help us out with this program. Usually we have 1 or 2 veterans that stay on to their first of their college years. But this year, I don't think we're going to get so lucky. But anyway, we definitely can assist with some of the planters located at some of our facilities, such as the ones that are out in front of Town Hall, at the Ristine Building. We can assist with anything at the community center. Some of these facilities are easy for us to be able to water. It's the ones that are remote throughout the town that pose a difficulty for us because we don't have the staff or trained staff. we would be relying on seasonal kids to do this, and we don't have the watering apparatus. So those are the ones that present a challenge to us. However, I know that over the next couple years, we're going to want to look at making changes to that program so that we can assist the men's club more, because they do a fantastic job in this town. And I think we should be assisting them as much as we can. But definitely for this year, we will help with the town hall building, the Racine building, anything else that is outside of a building that I can have a custodian bring water out to, or I can have staff that's on site cutting the grass, bring water out to. It's going to be, the difficulty is going to be the ones that are at the intersection of by Pratt Pond at Westboro and whatnot.
Yeah, that was my understanding. There were 3 spots that he said that he could help with. We are short-staffed. We always do the best we can, and seems that it always gets taken care of in one fashion or another. So anything that you can help with, Dennis, is great, and we'll keep helping as much as we can. It does get challenging, but.
You know, it'd be great if there was some type of a tank that maybe you could put water in and spray it, as opposed to taking 2 or 5 gallon,
Yeah.
Containers, having to fill them and physically lift them. We're not all in our 30s or 40s or 50s or even 60s anymore, so.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And, the Bloom girls run into the same thing. Yes, I'm a senior citizen.
That's where we are.
It is,
It's a good place to be, but it does have its challenges. For sure.
unfortunately.
Yes.
As my mother says,
Great.
it's not for sissies.
That's right.
Thank you to the men's
All right,
club.
thank
To
you.
both of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about the timing.
And thank the 3 of you for your service, seriously.
Yes.
I appreciate
For
it.
your service. You've been here, you know. what
And
it's
you've
like.
been here, done that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Have a great night.
Have a great
Take care.
day.
These things are staying out.
Oh,
So we have public comment?
Public comment. Anybody have public comment? Mr. Flaherty.
I think, Susan already knows, because Dennis has mentioned it earlier, that, can you put an agenda item on for your next meeting for the building committee, DPW building committee, to, let you know where we are prior to town meeting.
Yes, that can definitely be done. Yes. Anybody else? Anything else? Steve, I see a smirk. You're just a happy guy. There you go. All right. I don't see anybody online with any questions or comments. So moving on. We can do the. We do, want to do the scholarships?
Yeah,
And,
ready to go.
because I'm going to recuse myself because my scholarship votes are at home. While they're sitting on my counter because I came like my pants on fire. And my memory, I did it when we first met them, so I'm gonna recuse myself and let you 2 vote.
Okay.
I trust you both implicitly.
I was gonna say, given that we've got 8 people and 8 awards, the really question is like, we gotta pick 2 that are gonna get $200, otherwise it's good. So it's not too controversial
No.
here. Everybody's getting something. So that's
That's kind of
You
what
want to do it that way? The last 2?
probably the easiest, right? To just say like, what are the 2 that are gonna get the 200? And
Okay.
I'm
Did you?
flexible. They've all done. It's the same every year.
It is.
Even more so, I feel like this year than prior years, like differentiating between the applicants was like, oh boy, this is all just on the margins here. So, but I did look at, on the numbers that were on the sheet that was at the top of the list. Number 1, I had as 200, and potentially number 4. But again, if you felt strongly on any of those, I had a couple of others that I had a little asterisk next to, like, oh, this one could have been, my sort of second or third choice, or my third or fourth choice.
I have number 6 and number 2.
As 200,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you both
All right,
agree on
you-
2, right?
no,
No.
1 and 4.
yeah, yeah, so you want to just split the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so, we can do 2 and 4 as the $200 ones?
Yeah.
Does that work okay?
That works.
You got that, Sue? 2 and 4? And everyone else is 1,000, so that's great. Really, really wonderful applications. People taking the time to fill these out. I think they did a great job. You know, it's a lot of extra effort, right? They're busy students
and
running around and,
It shows the effort because
Yeah.
out of all of our students, we only had 8 apply, so
Yeah.
kudos.
right, to these
To the
8,
eight
right? Just
who
that stays a
actually went.
standout, right?
Honestly.
Yep.
And kudos to their parents, whether they lit a fire under them or they did it by themselves, but
It's great.
every penny counts these days. and
Yep.
Sure does.
It's a benefit. So you'll be able to get the names to the schools so they can get published for graduation in time? Thank you.
Might as well go tomorrow.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Beautiful. Okay, next agenda item is the annual town meeting warrant, vote to sign.
Election warrant.
Election warrant first,
Yeah.
yes. Who wants to handle that?
I
A motion?
move that we sign the 2026 annual town election warrant.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, so the annual town meeting warrant discussion and vote to sign.
Okay, so if I may start by just walking you through a couple of the changes that were based on our last meeting and then confirming amounts from the FinCom. The articles that were added based on our last meeting's discussion started Article 21 on page 8. And that is the $5,000 for conservation. So, you know, in the transition, there were some things that got, you know, submitted but didn't get transferred over to my file. So I did go back and ask everybody that I could think of, boards, committees, departments, to make sure that we captured everything over the last couple of days. And I did receive confirmation back that everything looked good. There was also the 3 lakes, ponds and streams articles that I had submitted to you via email.
Mhm.
Article 24 is for underwater survey of Pratt Pond for $2,500. They're looking for things that I know nothing about called potential benthic maps.
But I can help on that.
Thank
one.
you.
The cyanobacteria algae is the reason we closed the beach. So what they found is it grows in kind of dark, stagnant water. But what it is there's a mat on the bottom of it, and that's where they think the cyanobacteria is coming from. So they would like to investigate and get a camera down there. The Board of Health has worked with lakes and ponds. Hopefully, we don't have to close the beach as often as we did. You didn't hear about this years ago because cyanobacteria likes it hot and humid. And we didn't used to have weeks and weeks of it, and now we do, and it just flourishes. So that's what the message
Tonight.
That's
is.
Great.
Yes,
The Lakes and Pond people and the
Mhm.
conservation, they came to the finance committee last weekend.
okay.
And they gave us a reasonably detailed breakdown
Mhm.
of what they intend to accomplish with
Okay.
that monies.
Yeah.
And
Did I give a decent Cliff Notes version?
anything.
They're basically gonna be able to give us the imagery, that's what
And that's what they need to see.
Mr. Mango and Mr. Connors are looking for, so.
Yeah.
We had a meeting with them because these 3, if you guys remember last year,
Mhm.
they came forward for 7,500.
Mhm.
And we thought that was gonna be used for all this testing, so that 7,500 is really the 10,000,
Mhm.
which is their ongoing testing.
Right.
And these other 2 are separate and distinct.
Okay.
So the 2,500 is, just as you mentioned.
Yep.
Article 25, you just jump ahead.
Sure.
This was like 6,000 originally, and then apparently Lakes, Ponds and Streams met with Board of Health and you recommended them put it to 7,000 because of the estimate, so that's why this is now 7, if you guys remember it being 6 originally, just. an
I think it was,
It's like 6,100.
it was close enough to 7 that we just said, why don't you just round it up and say up to?
Yeah, everything else made perfect sense. They had reasons. The reason why we called them in was because we were expecting the 10,000 or whatever, like one article, because every time they come in, they go into this extraordinary detail that probably isn't necessary for things that they want to get done. So if they have a list, they know what they want to do, then we should approve it and they should do what they need to do. That's how everyone else does it. So.
Yep.
Good. That's what we're trying to set them.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Kristen, the floor is yours again.
Article 27 is the Board of Assessor recertification that we discussed, the $10,000 that is set forth annually, so that you don't get the big hit every 5 years that you have to do the reval. Article 30 is the police portable radios, as we discussed with the chief. One thing to point out, the model name just did need to be changed from what it was in the fall town meeting article. It's still Kenwood, but it's a Viking VP 5000. So, and that cost is $19,271. And then Article 31 was the police department vehicle replacement that we discussed, including all of the ancillary costs, since this is an additional vehicle being added to the fleet. So that is a higher cost than you would expect at the $105,768, but it includes fully outfitting the cruiser with emergency lighting and equipment, communication system, mobile data terminal, and all of the safety equipment and AED, automated external defibrillator, et cetera, et cetera. So the department, to save money, did obtain the leftover cruiser from leftover 2025 cruiser, and is sourcing the operational gear that can be purchased through Amazon rather than traditional law enforcement vendors. And then the 3 bylaws have been moved to the back, as we discussed, where they typically are. So that would be Article 33 is stormwater, Article 34 would be your zoning bylaw on accessory uses and structures, and then Article 35 on accessory dwelling units. So those are the main changes. I don't know if you would like to ask specific questions from here.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Maureen?
No.
Brett?
No, thank you. That was helpful.
Steve or Paul? Questions, comments?
I don't have anything, just as an FYI for your meeting tomorrow night to finalize everything, we're gonna vote this final warrant. And then the finance committee is gonna create a document that will be sent to Kristen and Sue to confirm. Are you guys interested in seeing it beforehand, where we have to get it to the printer by next Monday? So I'm happy to send you guys a version to look at.
I would love that, yeah.
We'll look at it quick.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit skinnier than what we've had in the past. We're not planning to use like the graphs and other things that are more town manager recommendation. We're trying to focus on finance committee recommendation. We are gonna show, well, we're proposing to show like a revenue section, high level, an expense section, high level, similar to what's in the town manager recommendation, the variance overview, our recommendation letter, Vadar, warrant, that's pretty much it. So be a little bit skinnier version, but it should contain all the information.
Thank
I
you.
would like to thank Steve for putting that together. I understand the previous town manager put that together, but it really is the FinCom report, and I truly appreciate Steve's willingness
We
to.
talked to Joe last year because he was kind of struggling to get through it. And at the end, he said, this really isn't something for the administration to do. We're happy to do it. We sent it off. You guys have always taken care of it, at least for the second time I've been on it, so.
Well, thank you, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
The finance committee did vote on the omnibus lines last week,
Okay.
but we still have to address the articles that are there. I don't know if there's a place to bring this up or not, but I assume people are aware that the school changed the number last night.
Yes,
Yep.
So that's how this is gonna begin.
and everything's printed.
So, well, and
The ballot question and
the ballot question is printed, so I think this is a good question for me to discuss with town council. Because what I did was in Article 4, I put the original number in there because it is a higher number. And I don't know, and I want to kind of get a sense of, is it more confusing to have a different number on the ballot as opposed to on the warrant article? We can do a different number on the warrant, but I kind of want to have that conversation. So I put the higher amount in there.
Mhm.
And what I was going to ask you to do, if you were willing to vote to sign the warrant, was have it contingent upon town council's review and any grammatical or Scrivener's errors.
I would think cancel out the ballot question if you put a different one on the warrant. And then people go to the ballot and it's on the ballot and
It wouldn't cancel it, but the ballot gives you that capacity, and we talked about that before. So even if you appropriate less at town meeting, you're still getting that ballot vote of the actual override of Prop 2.5 for a certain amount. I just am trying to figure out how best to present it to the public, since you may have two different numbers, and an appropriation is an appropriation. It does not have to be expended. We would expend what the final number is that the schools submit in their assessment letter, which we received the revised version of today.
what if they vote the high, you put the lower amount on and they vote the higher amount?
Cannot go higher.
Cannot go higher on
No,
the,
the school committee voted to revise the budget and to submit a revised number to us, and they gave us a new assessment letter.
I understand that, but the lower number. The ballot question has the higher number on it, which it does right now because it's printed, correct?
And it will, the budget, that's not gonna change.
That just gives you the levy capacity.
Sure.
It's the.
Well, that's what we're gonna-
appropriations
that's
done
what we're
by
gonna
town meeting.
Confirm with KP, right, is
Yeah.
ask them and make sure that
MTC.
if we've got MTC, if we've got a number on the ballot and what gets approved at town meeting, can it be lower? Can it be lower, or does it have to match? And if it has to match, fine, and then we just spend less, like, that's okay too, but we need that guidance.
All right, and I did try to preemptively get an answer to this, so I just haven't touched base with him since we got the revised number. But he said we can put whichever number we want in the warrant or the motion, because if the school ends up with a number lower than the assessment, we can move that if we want. If town meeting doesn't vote the full assessment, the district would have to reassess or accept the lower number. So that was a little bit of mud to me that I need to reach back out and seek some clarification on. But the point is, we can put the number we want in the warrant article or in the motion. I just need a little bit of clarification on which path makes the most sense.
So that's why we'd be voting. Attorneys.
Reviewing.
Okay, Steve, you have a question?
Yeah, so the only other option that we have is we avoid, this is what we have to talk about, we have talked about it as a finance committee. We can still go back and revote our Mendon Upton Regional School District number, lower it by the 116, and then the override is the override.
Right.
That is gonna, we'll offset that by reducing local receipts, which is what we talked about last time that we increased. We can lower that, and we'll likely have additional free cash because we're gonna have more local receipts and more budgeting. So there is another option. Fear that the option that we're going down by having two different numbers is gonna be confusing. But the way that if we do it this way, then the override is, town budget is beneficial.
Yeah.
But the taxpayers are paying, in theory, more than what we're being asked by the school. Because we couldn't be taxing. They lowered it, we're lowering it, but we're gonna get it back in free cash. It's all confusing. There's just two options, I think. One is what Kristen's talking about, the other one, we can just balance it and not worry about what the override differences are.
It might
We
be,
can't understand it. How's the average citizen going to
I
understand it?
know.
Yeah,
it's,
because we're pretty intimately familiar. I think we're all looking like deers in the headlight.
well, I think
Go ahead, Brett.
if we should, let's talk to the town council. But it may be easiest to keep the numbers the same and have the warrant match what's gonna be on the ballot. and let people vote at that. And if people, if the question is, do you preemptively say, oh, by the way, it's not actually the number? Like, I think as soon as you do that, forget it. Like, I think we just have to just either like grit our teeth and just do it. Right.
People who watch and people who are
Right.
aware.
Right. And if someone wants to ask the question, we can say, yes, the school revised their number down. We're approving at the higher number. Obviously, we're only going to spend what the school has budgeted. We're not going to spend money that they're not asking for.
Override change.
Right.
You'd be approving their exact number.
Right.
So again, not to get into these details.
Yeah.
What that does is if the override fails, the school is getting less than what we told them originally at that 2.5%. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? So.
Yes. It does, and, but I think we're all in agreement that the conversation we've just had here, we're gonna have half the audience in these
Can't,
weeds
we got
and the other half in those weeds, and then it's gonna be
Yeah.
fascinating. Come on in. It's the select board if you're looking for us.
I'm looking for the, on Mechanic Street, the housing.
I think that would be planning or zoning, and that's, take the elevator straight down to the basement. And when you get off, walk a little bit to the right, there's a conference room. So you'll see the solid wall. It's on either door. Go to the right though, it'll be easier. You're welcome. So, Paul,
When you're asking town council, we find out if that, what the school district just did is appropriate. The statute is clear. They have to vote the budget 45 days before the first town meeting. And it has to be done before March 31st.
But isn't
And
that just gonna make it more confusing if we start asking weird legal questions that we don't really care about?
This is, I'm talking about, the law says that you will vote a budget 45 days before the,
I understand what you're saying.
okay?
I understand what you're saying.
It's,
What I'm
it
suggesting
has to be
is,
done the right way. Now, I'm assuming in my stupidity that they checked with, Mike Long, I believe, who was the town council, who was council for the school district. But I'd like to see, in all the time I've been doing this, there's been changes in budget, but it was always after a failed ballot or a failed override or something like that, because there is a process to go through should an override fail. And there's days, there's time limits and everything involved with that. And the issue becomes, it's unique because we're in a two-town school district, and Madam Mayor comes from a district, had a two-town district.
We didn't do an override and they didn't change the budget outside of that window, but that's the question I have, is they did pass a budget adopted by the school committee before the 45-day window. So is that?
can they
a
amend it or not?
Leeway, can they amend it or not? So,
You know, I mean, the statute that I read doesn't address that, but again, I'm not, I can go and watch them, you know?
that's okay.
I
Me
just,
neither.
school, I'm not.
and you've got the appropriate shirt on tonight with the patients. So do I hear a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve the town meeting warrant as submitted pending any changes coming out of the town council.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
March 3rd. Minutes?
Minutes.
yeah, March 3rd minutes, yes. Approval of regular minutes. Did everybody read it?
Yep.
Was everybody happy?
So happy.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the March 3rd, 2026 meeting minutes.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Do I hear a motion to adjourn at,
I make a motion that we adjourn at 7:13 PM.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, everyone.